90 minutes every single morning, guitar in hand, no exceptions. But here's what most guys miss. The guitar isn't the point. The edge you built over 40 years, it's leaving right now. And most men don't feel it until it's already gone. I spent 40 years at the top of high-stakes organizations, rose to CTO, and retirement almost took out the one thing I'd spent a lifetime building. Not my money, not my health, my edge. This video is about what I built to get it back. There's one thing I realized at dinner one night, not a crisis, just a quiet moment that made me pull out my phone and block 6 to 7:30 every single morning for the next 90 days. And I'll tell you exactly what that was before this video ends. But first, why your brain is already fading and why you probably don't feel it yet. Here's the roadmap. 3 things in order. Why your brain is fading right now, the 4-step system that stops it, and the one metric that tells you whether it's working. Let's get into it. Most men over 60 assume cognitive decline is just biology, something that happens to you, like gray hair or a slower metabolism. That assumption is wrong, and it's costing people their sharpness years earlier than it should. Your brain isn't declining because of age. It's declining because you stopped being a problem solver and became what I call a professional retiree. You're up, you're busy, you've got golf errands, maybe a grandkid twice a week. On paper, life is fine. Your brain has a different read on it. Here's how the brain actually works. It's an adaptation engine. It builds and maintains neural pathways based on the demands you place on it. For 40 years, you had deadlines, decisions, people calling you for the answer at 7 p.m. on a Tuesday. Your brain built serious infrastructure to handle that complex, layered, high-leverage thinking. That's what your career was actually training every single day. Then you retired, and the hard problems stopped coming. The brain doesn't know you've earned a rest. It just reads the signal. No difficult problems. No need to maintain expensive neural pathways. So it starts pruning them. Golf 3 times a week and the evening news, that's the new job description. And your brain, it's reading it loud and clear. That's not a disease. That's the brain being efficient. It conserves energy for whatever demands you're actually placing on it. Now, a lot of guys hear this and they think, okay, brain games, crosswords, memory apps, I get it. But you see, that's not the fix. Crosswords don't replicate the kind of friction that built your mind in the first place. They're not hard in the right way. They don't require your specific expertise, your pattern recognition, your decades of earned judgment. They're just puzzles. So if brain games won't fix it and retirement is quietly accelerating the decline, what actually works? And that's exactly what the 90-minute system is built around. If the problem is a brain without a worthy target, then here's the system that I built to fix it. I call it the still standing method. 4 steps in order, and this isn't hobby routine or a retirement wellness plan. It's a cognitive infrastructure rebuild. Step 1 is the audit, and this is where most guys get stuck because it's uncomfortable. You've spent 40 years defined by a title, a company, a role. Strip all that away, and what you're left looking for is your actual core competency, not your job description, your real skill. What did you solve for 40 years that nobody else in the room could solve at your level? That answer is the raw material for everything else. If you skip this step and jump straight to staying busy, you'll just rebuild the same comfortable noise, but in a different package. Now, step 2 is the production block. This is the 90 minutes, and it has one rule. It happens before the day gets loud. You see, me with my guitar, 8 months in, and I'm not concert ready, but I'm deliberately not, because perfection isn't the metric. Production is. That happened this morning because I opened a single email. That's the standard. Before email, before news, before anyone needs anything from you. I block mine every morning, and on my calendar, it's not labeled guitar practice. It's labeled production, because that's what it is. This block is exclusively for creating, building, or refining something, not consuming, not scrolling, not reading articles about productivity. The moment you let consumption into this window, you've turned a production block into a leisure block. And your brain knows the difference. The reason 90 minutes matters specifically comes down to how deep work actually functions. It takes roughly 20 minutes for your brain to fully engage with a complex problem. A 30-minute session barely gets you warmed up. 90 minutes gets you into the territory where real pattern making happens, where the pathways that need to stay maintained are actually firing. Step 3 is the knowledge engine, and this is where the cognitive payoff compounds fast. You're converting 40 years of hard-won pattern recognition into something that didn't exist before you built it. It's a framework, a course, a curriculum someone can actually use. The act of building that, organizing it, sequencing it, defending it, that's the hard problem your brain has been missing, not a crossword. Every guitar session feeds directly into this. I'm not trying to become a concert guitarist. I'm logging reps, tracking where my fingers failed, noticing where the rhythm broke down and why. That discipline of honest self-assessment applied consistently, that's the same muscle I use when I'm building a coaching module or writing a script. The guitar is proof of work. It shows me the system is running. Now, step 4 is the accountability metric. And this replaces something you lost the day you left the office. Not a boss, a forcing function. A standard that tells you whether you actually moved forward this week or just went through the motions. Your metric is simple. What tangible asset did you produce? A piece of content, a project milestone, a mentorship outcome. Something that didn't exist 7 days ago now exists because you built it. If you can point to that thing, you drifted. If you can't point to that thing, you drifted. And drifting feels fine, right up until it doesn't. Here's what I decided at that dinner. I pulled out my phone and I blocked 6 to 7:30 every morning for the next 90 days. I labeled it production, then I wrote down one problem worth solving that only I could solve at my level, not a mindset shift, a calendar block and a problem statement. Everything since then has been output from that one night. Because that dinner wasn't a crisis, it wasn't a breakdown, it was just a quiet moment where something became unavoidable. I had given 40 years to building leadership as a skill, and I'd stopped putting that skill somewhere, not because I'd lost it, because I'd stopped demanding it of myself. You see, skills don't disappear overnight. They atrophy slowly, and slowly is the dangerous part, because you don't feel it until there's real distance between who you were and who you're becoming. Most guys only notice it when someone stops calling them for the answer. I caught it at dinner. You're catching it right now. So, how do you know the system is working? Not by how sharp you feel. That's the wrong diagnostics. Feelings lag reality by months. The real question, what did I produce this week that didn't exist last week? That's it. Scripts written, sessions logged, modules built, conversations that moved someone forward, production metrics, not vanity metrics. Hours logged and pages read don't count. They measure input. And input without output is just consumption dressed up as effort. Here's the math that makes this real. 90 minutes a day is 547 hours a year. That's not a pastime. That's a second career's worth of deliberate output. If you protect that window and use it right, your 90-minute habit doesn't have to be guitar. It has to be something that demands your specific expertise and produces something real, because that combination is exactly what your brain has been missing. 3 things. Why the brain fades when friction disappears, the 4-step system that rebuilds it, and the one metric that tells you if it's actually working. Now, one action. Find your 90-minute window today. Put it on the calendar before the video ends. Name it. Not practice. Not me time. Name it production. That's the whole game. The body side of this matters just as much. Same infrastructure, same rules. The daily mobility guide, it's linked below. And if you want to be around other men over 60 who are building this way, not just watching videos about it, the Still Standing community is the place. Link is below. Come introduce yourself. I'll see you there.